February 1963. Oakland, California. A backyard kwoon on 18th Street. No cameras. No witnesses who would ever speak publicly. And in 9 seconds, Bruce Lee, the man who would become a legend, experienced something he spent the rest of his life ensuring no one would ever know about. He lost. Not the Wong Jack Man fight you've heard about. Not the famous challenge match that's been documented, debated, dissected. That came later. That was the public narrative. This was different. This was the moment before the mythology. The moment when the greatest martial artist of the 20th century discovered he knew nothing. 9 seconds. That's all it took to dismantle 15 years of training. 9 seconds to shatter every assumption about combat, speed, power, and mastery. 9 seconds that would birth Jeet Kune Do, not as philosophy but as survival mechanism. What happened in those 9 seconds? Why did Bruce Lee never speak of it? And what did he learn in that fraction of time that would transform him from a Wing Chun practitioner into something the martial arts world had never seen? This is the story they buried, the defeat that created the legend. Act 1, the setup, context, and character. Oakland, 1963. Bruce Lee is 22 years old. He's been in America for 4 years. He's teaching Wing Chun in James Lee's garage. No relation, just coincidence of names. 20 students, good students, respectful. They believe in him. Bruce believes in Wing Chun, completely, unquestioningly. He's been training since age 13 under Yip Man in Hong Kong. He knows the forms. Sio Nim Tao, Chum Q, Bu Ji. He's mastered Chi Sao, sticking hands. He understands centerline theory, simultaneous attack and defense, economy of motion. He's fast. Exceptionally fast. His students have never seen anyone move like him. When he demonstrates techniques, they see a blur. When he hits the wooden dummy, the sound cracks through the garage like gunfire. He can trap your hands before you realize you've thrown a punch. He can hit you 3 times in the space where you expected 1 strike. He's confident. Not arrogant. Confident. There's a difference. He's tested his Wing Chun in Hong Kong rooftop fights. He's fought other styles. He's won. Every time. So when the old man appears at the garage one Tuesday evening, Bruce doesn't see danger. He sees another challenger, another opportunity to demonstrate that Wing Chun works. The old man's name is never recorded. Some students remember him as Lao Zhang, Old Zhang. He's Chinese, elderly, maybe 70, maybe older, small, thin, wearing simple gray clothing, no martial arts uniform, no patches, no rank, nothing that indicates he's anything other than a curious elderly man who wandered into the wrong garage. But James Lee recognizes something. James has been in the martial arts world longer than Bruce. He's seen things. He approaches Bruce quietly. "Sifu, maybe we should—" Bruce waves him off. The old man has asked for a demonstration. Bruce will give him one, not a fight. Just a light exchange. Show him what Wing Chun can do. Show him why the style works. Education, not combat. They clear space in the garage. Students form a circle. The old man stands in the center, still, silent, hands at his sides. No stance, no preparation, just standing. Like he's waiting for a bus. Bruce settles into his Wing Chun stance, left foot forward, weight on the back leg, hands up, center line protected. He's done this 1,000 times. Muscle memory. Neural pathways carved deep through repetition. His body knows what to do before his brain gives the command. The old man doesn't move. Bruce waits. Traditionally, the challenger moves first, but the old man just stands there, not tense, not ready, just there, existing in space without intention, without telegraphing anything. After 10 seconds, Bruce decides to initiate. Light contact. Just a demonstrative straight punch. Chain punch. The Wing Chun staple. Not full power. Just enough to show control. To move the old man back. To establish what happens when Wing Chun meets stillness. Bruce's hand shoots forward. And that's when everything Bruce Lee knows about martial arts stops working. Act 2. The biomechanical collapse, scientific analysis. Second one, the neural misfire. Bruce's straight punch travels along his center line, biomechanically perfect. His rear foot drives force through his hip. His hip rotates, transferring energy through his core. His shoulder extends, his elbow unlocks. His fist accelerates toward the old man's sternum. Standard kinetic chain. Distal to proximal force generation. Every link in the chain firing in sequence. Ground force to ankle, to knee, to hip, to core, to shoulder, to elbow, to fist. Bruce has thrown this punch 10,000 times, maybe 100,000. It's autonomic. But the old man's hand moves. Not fast, not a blur, just moves. His right hand rises, intercepts Bruce's wrist, not at the fist, at the wrist, where leverage exists, and does something Bruce's proprioceptive system doesn't recognize. The old man's touch is light. 3 fingers, thumb, index, middle, making contact with the radial side of Bruce's wrist, not gripping, not pushing, just touching. But in that touch, something happens that Bruce's nervous system has no reference for. The old man's fingers find the radial nerve cluster. Not by sight, by sensitivity. By decades of training fingers to read compression, tension, electrical resistance in human tissue. His touch creates a localized neural interruption. Not pain, not pressure, just interruption. Bruce's hand opens involuntarily. His fist unclenches. The punch that was traveling at 8 meters per second stops. Not because of force, because his motor neurons stop firing correctly. His brain sends the signal. Maintain fist, continue punch. But the signal gets disrupted at the wrist. The hand receives conflicting information. Open, close, open, close. The muscles spasm microscopically. Bruce has never felt this. In 15 years of training, no one has ever touched him this way. His Wing Chun has no answer, because Wing Chun has never asked this question. Second 2 to 3, proprioceptive disorientation. Bruce attempts to retract his arm, reset, return to stance, restart the engagement. Standard sparring protocol. But his arm doesn't retract. The old man's touch remains. 3 fingers, still light. But now doing something else. His fingers slide from Bruce's wrist to his elbow. The movement is continuous, smooth, like water flowing down a channel. And as the fingers move, Bruce's arm moves with them. Not because he wants it to, but because his proprioceptive system, the network of sensors that tells your brain where your body is in space, is being rewritten in real time. The old man's touch creates a sensory illusion. Bruce's brain receives signals. Your arm is straight. Your arm is extended. Your elbow is locked. But his arm is actually bending. Moving in a direction Bruce didn't choose. His eyes see one thing. His nerves report another. The mismatch creates a cognitive gap, a fraction of a second where Bruce's brain struggles to reconcile conflicting information. In that gap, the old man moves. Not his whole body, just his rear foot. 6 inches. A weight shift so subtle that Bruce's visual system, already overloaded trying to process the arm confusion, doesn't register it. But that 6-inch shift changes everything. The old man's center of gravity moves. His hips align differently. His structure, the architectural relationship between his skeletal system and gravity, transforms. He's no longer standing in front of Bruce. He's standing beside Bruce. Not physically. They haven't moved that much. Geometrically, angularly. His body occupies a different vector. Bruce's Wing Chun is designed for frontal attacks. Centerline theory assumes the opponent is in front of you. Your stance, your guard, your techniques, all optimized for threats coming straight ahead. But the old man is no longer straight ahead. He's 15 degrees off-center, and Bruce's structure, perfect for frontal assault, is now misaligned. Second 4 to 6, structural collapse. Bruce tries to pivot, tries to realign his stance to face the new angle. His front foot begins to turn. The old man's hand, still in contact with Bruce's arm, presses. Not hard, not a strike. Just a change in pressure. 5 pounds of force, maybe less. But applied at the precise moment when Bruce's weight is transitioning from his back foot to his front foot. In biomechanics, there's a concept called the phase transition moment. It's the instant when your body is between two states, between standing and sitting, between stillness and movement, between one stance and another. In that instant, your structure is compromised. You're not stable in the old position anymore, but you haven't achieved stability in the new position yet. You're vulnerable. The old man has found Bruce's phase transition moment. And in that moment, 5 pounds of force, applied at the correct angle, at the correct point on the arm, at the correct instant in the weight shift, is enough. Bruce's front foot, which was turning to pivot, slides, not far, 3 inches. But 3 inches is enough to take his weight distribution from 60 to 40, back foot to front foot, to 50 to 50. And 50 to 50 is unstable. It's the worst weight distribution for generating power, for maintaining balance, for resisting force. Bruce feels it. His base is compromised. His stance, the foundation of all Wing Chun techniques, is wrong. He attempts to correct, drop his weight, sink into his back leg, re-establish root. But the old man is already inside the arm, inside the stance, inside the decision loop. His other hand, the left hand, which has been doing nothing this entire time, rises, not fast, not a strike, just rises and makes contact with Bruce's chest. Solar plexus, the network of nerves behind the sternum, the autonomic cluster that controls diaphragmatic breathing. The touch is light, a push, but not a hard push, soft push. Like closing a door that's already ajar. But the timing is perfect. The angle is perfect. The point of contact is perfect. Bruce's diaphragm spasms, not dramatically, not a knockout blow, just a microspasm. His breathing interrupts for half a second. His body, already dealing with the proprioceptive confusion in his arm and the structural compromise in his stance, now has to deal with a respiratory interruption. The human brain prioritizes breathing over everything else, fighting, thinking, moving, all secondary to oxygen. When breathing is threatened, even slightly, the brain redirects resources, attention, processing power, neural bandwidth. Bruce's combat awareness, his ability to track the opponent's movement, anticipate the next attack, formulate a response, drops. Not to 0, but from 100% to 70%. And 70% is not enough. Second 7 to 9, the finish. The old man's rear hand, the one that touched Bruce's chest, doesn't retract. It stays, maintains contact, and begins to push. Not explosively, incrementally, pressure increasing gradually. 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. But Bruce is already off balance. His weight distribution is wrong. His breath is interrupted. His arm is still confused, still sending conflicting signals to his brain. And now there's pressure on his chest. Pressure that's increasing. Pressure that his compromised structure cannot resist. Bruce's back foot slides, not because the push is powerful, because his root is gone. His connection to the ground, the thing Wing Chun emphasizes above everything else, is severed. His weight shifts backward, not a stumble, not a fall, just a step, a backward step, an involuntary retreat. His back heel touches the wall of the garage, the concrete wall. He's out of space, out of room to retreat, out of options. The old man's hand stays on Bruce's chest, still pushing, still light, still just enough. Bruce tries one last technique. A Buji strike, emergency hand, the Wing Chun technique for when everything else has failed. His free hand shoots toward the old man's throat. The old man's head moves, 2 inches, offline. The strike misses, and in missing, Bruce's shoulder extends, his torso rotates, his center line opens completely. The old man's other hand, the one that's been controlling Bruce's arm this entire time, releases and taps Bruce's throat. Not a strike, a tap. Fingertips, light contact. The message is clear. I could have finished this. I chose not to. 9 seconds. From the first punch to the tap on the throat, 9 seconds, in which Bruce Lee, master of Wing Chun, was completely, systematically, scientifically dismantled. Act 3. The aftermath. Philosophical anchor. The garage is silent. 20 students stare. They don't understand what they just saw. It didn't look like a fight. It looked like a dance. A slow, strange dance where one partner led and the other had no choice but to follow. Bruce steps away from the wall. His breathing is normal. He's not hurt, not injured, but something else is damaged, something deeper than tissue. The old man bows, a small bow, respectful, not mocking. He speaks. His voice is quiet, accented but clear. Your technique is very good. Your speed is very good. But you are fighting your own body, not me. Your style makes you predictable. Your forms make you rigid. You have learned to move one way, so I only needed to make you move a different way, and you had no answer. Bruce doesn't respond. Can't respond, because the old man is right. Every technique Bruce attempted, the old man had already seen, not because he'd fought Wing Chun before, but because Wing Chun, like all classical styles, has a grammar, a syntax, a predictable sequence of responses to stimuli. If A, then B. If opponent does X, I do Y. The old man had simply spoken a different language. A language Bruce didn't know. And in that linguistic gap, Bruce had become illiterate in his own art. The old man leaves, no name, no school, no style mentioned, just walks out of the garage and disappears into Oakland's evening streets. Bruce never sees him again, never learns who he was, never discovers what system he practiced, if he practiced a system at all. But that night, Bruce Lee begins the process that will consume the next decade of his life. He begins dismantling Wing Chun, not to destroy it, to understand it, to see where the rigidity lies, where the predictability hides, where the gaps exist. He starts training differently, not forms, principles, not techniques, concepts. He begins asking different questions. What if the opponent doesn't do what Wing Chun expects? What if they move at an angle the style doesn't address? What if they don't fight the way the system anticipates? He cross-trains. Western boxing for footwork and rhythm, fencing for distance and timing, wrestling for structure and base, judo for off-balancing. He studies kinesiology, biomechanics, neurology. He reads Gray's Anatomy like other martial artists read Sun Tzu. And slowly, piece by piece, Jeet Kune Do emerges. Not as a style, as an anti-style. A way of fighting that has no classical forms because forms create expectation. No rigid stances because stances create predictability. No single truth because truth changes with context. Absorb what is useful. Reject what is useless. Add what is specifically your own. That philosophy didn't come from meditation or enlightenment. It came from 9 seconds of being completely helpless against an old man who weighed 140 pounds and moved like water through Bruce's defenses. Closing the lesson. Bruce Lee never told this story publicly. His students never spoke of it. James Lee took it to his grave. The old man was never identified. But the evidence is everywhere, if you know where to look. In Bruce's writings from 1963 onward, there's a shift, a humility that wasn't there before, a questioning that replaced certainty. In his training logs, he begins experimenting with sensitivity drills, touch-based exercises, ways to read an opponent's structure through contact rather than sight. In Jeet Kune Do's core principles, you can see the ghost of that 9-second defeat. Be like water. Use no way as way. Having no limitation as limitation. These aren't abstract poetry. They're tactical responses to a specific problem. What do you do when your opponent doesn't fight the way your training prepared you for? The greatest martial artist of the 20th century became great not because he won every fight. He became great because he learned from the one that lasted 9 seconds. The one where an old man showed him that mastery isn't about perfecting a system, it's about transcending the need for one. February 1963, Oakland, California. A backyard kwoon, no cameras, no witnesses who would speak. 9 seconds that changed everything. This is the defeat they never told you about, the one that created the legend.